awesome giveaways on sensory toys, educational tools, and kid products all in one spot. This is Sensory Deal Live. Hey y'all, Angela here. Welcome to Sensory Deal Live. Today we're going to shift from supermom support and talk about a great foundation for the super fathers in our lives. But before I introduce our guests, I want to welcome everyone to the show. Hey y'all, thank you so much for joining. We are so excited you're here with us tonight. Please feel free to share this live and feel free to comment below or send any questions you may have. We would love to hear from everyone. If you're watching the replay later, please comment #replay and still feel free to comment and send any questions you may have, and we will get back to you guys. So today we have a special guest. David Hirsch is the founder of the Special Fathers Network. David is here to talk about the upcoming Dad Virtual Conference happening this weekend. A little bit about David. David Hirsch is the father of 5 adult children, a grandfather, and a Chicago native. David has spent over 28 years creating intentional resources for fathers. He is the founder of the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative, which was founded in 1995, and at the time it was the country's first statewide nonprofit fatherhood organization. He also has the 21st Century Dads Foundation, which was created in 2015. He is also a wealth manager, author, speaker, and the host of a weekly Special Fathers Network's Dad to Dad podcast. Another fun fact, David's interests include reading, underwater photography, and adventure sports. Thank you, David, for joining us this evening. How are you today? Hi, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you for that nice introduction. Glad to be with you.
We're so happy you're here with us. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know I gave a lot of information, but can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Well, like you had mentioned, I'm the father of 5 adult children. We have 2 grandchildren. I'm a Chicago area native. By day, I am a wealth advisor. I've been doing the same job for 38 years. And when we had our 5th child going back 26, almost 27 years ago, I stumbled across some statistics that I was really blasted away by. And the estimate was that there's some 24 million kids in America growing up in father absent homes. And if you do the math, that's about 4 out of every 10. And I came to learn it's not just those inner city Black kids. By the way, it's really bad in Black America. 7 or 8 out of 10 kids are growing up without their dads. But in absolute numbers, there are 2 times the number of white versus Black kids in America growing up without their dads. And I thought somebody should do something about it. So that's what led to the creation of the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative in 1997.
Awesome. So that kind of goes into our next one, which is what motivated you to create a network specifically for fathers?
Yeah, great question. So I shared a little bit of the statistics, and what happens when dads are not involved in their children's lives is that they're more inclined to be involved with crime and incarceration, drug and alcohol abuse, teen suicide, and pregnancy. So when both parents are involved, which means how do we get the dads involved, because the moms are doing a great job in most cases. And my mom was one of those single moms. My parents divorced when I was 6. My younger brother was 5. She was a Chicago public school teacher. And I don't share that for sympathy or pity, but just to say that, there weren't a lot of resources. She was just a salt of the earth person teaching second grade, then first grade, and then special ed. And, it was hard. It was hard for her. And, we didn't know any different. Thank God for my maternal grandfather, Sam Solomon, who became my father figure and, was the positive adult male role model in my life. But most of the moms that I know, and I work with a lot of moms, didn't sign up to be single moms. And, we just need to do better as a society. So we decided to focus on how do we get more dads involved in their children's lives. And the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative, the older of the 2 charities, focuses on dads and education. How do we get dads to be more actively involved in their children's education?
That is so awesome. A little fact about me is my parents actually divorced when I was 5. So this is something that I mean, it wasn't obviously in Florida, or my dad didn't know about it because he was one of those that, he he paid the child support, but he was also he was overstate trucker. So he drove all the time. So of course, when he would come home, he'd be tired, and he'd only have a weekend sometimes to visit with us. So it's something that this whole foundation is like really dear to my heart as I've been learning about your foundation, because as a child back when I was little, I can definitely relate to the absent father part. And I didn't get my adoptive dads. It was kind of like my godfather became my father figure because he was there since I was little. And then my mom met someone and I became very close with him. So he was like, I'm adopting you. Sorry, it's not legal because you're of age, but you're my adopted daughter. So, like, I kind of grew my own father figures over the years, So, as an adult, I can understand now how my dad might have felt. He was going through the divorce. He was always running around. He didn't know how to really socialize with a daughter. He was great with my brother. He was great with my brother fishing and stuff like that, but with me it was a little bit different. So I mean, if he had something like this, it would probably have encouraged him more to want to interact with his children and how to go about it. So like this is an awesome foundation. I'm so happy I found you guys because this is something every father should at least look into. You know what I mean? Especially if they need some type of support. Because, of course, our dads are like supposed to be these macho figures. So, showing emotion and talking about emotions, I know is really hard for my biological father, at least it was. You know what I mean? So, I can only imagine every other dad in that era would be the same or similar.
Yeah, well, not to give your dad a pass for doing better with your brother than yourself, but you know, uh, we were young boys at one time. Men were young boys, so we can relate to what it's like to be young boys. It's really difficult to relate to what it's like to be girls because we didn't grow up as girls, and I didn't have any sisters for that matter. So um, it's it's not unusual to hear a story like your own, and we can be doing better as a society. And all we need to do is, try to get both parents to work as best as they can. If they're married, that's great. If they're not married, well, they're just gonna have to work a little bit harder to be on the same page to make sure that they're consistent in their approach to parenting. So.
That is very true. Co-parenting is a very hard task, but I know it is doable. I've seen a lot of my friends, they have great co-parenting, but of course they could never be in a relationship with each other, but they have figured out at least to be, good co-parenters. So our next question is, how does the Special Fathers Network support fathers of children with special needs?
Okay. Well, I'm just going to go back a little bit just to make sure we don't confuse things. So there's actually two charities. The older charity is the Illinois Fatherhood Initiative that was started in 1997. And the signature program for that program, which again has to do with education, is getting kids to write about their dad. So we've had, no exaggeration, well over 425,000 kindergarten through 12th graders write essays annually to the theme, What My Father Means to Me. So that organization is Dads in Education. The second organization, which you made reference to in the introduction, is the 21st Century Dads Foundation, which was started in 2015. And the signature program of that organization is the Special Fathers Network, which is a dad-to-dad mentoring program for fathers raising children with special needs. So at the beginning, going back 6+ years ago now, the simple notion was to recruit seasoned fathers, dads who have on average more than 10 years of experience raising a child, or in some cases, children with special needs, and match those seasoned fathers, we call them the mentor fathers, with the new dads, the dads who have a child that was more recently diagnosed. And in a perfect world, it would be starting with the child's diagnosis, the gender of the child, the family structure. Is it an only child? Are there multiple children? Are the parents married or not married? Same socioeconomic group, if we know what ethnic background they have, what religious background they have. In a perfect world, if you can match all the above, it would be somebody in the same geographic area. So it's not a virtual relationship, like a phone call or an email or a text, etc. But it would be something that they could get together for a cup of coffee or a soda and develop a more traditional relationship, mentor relationship. So that's how the Special Fathers Network started, and it's blossomed from there. There's weekly mastermind groups. We have about 20 guys who are meeting either on Tuesday or Wednesday night currently. And the older group has been meeting for almost 2 years, the younger group for just a year. And there's monthly meetup groups where there's dads meeting on a monthly basis. In some cases, it's based on their geography. Be dads in a smaller community. It could be dads associated with a different not-for-profit, like the Dravet Syndrome Foundation is one of the groups that we're helping support. Some of them are country located. What I mean by that is that we have a group of dads in Nairobi that have been meeting for a couple of years. We have another group, it's a relatively new group, meeting in Kampala, Uganda. There's another group in the Cayman Islands, and then there's one up in Reykjavik, Iceland. So we're trying to meet dads where they are, and whether it's matching them as mentor-mentee, encouraging to join one of the weekly groups, one of the monthly meetup groups. You also mentioned that there's a podcast, and I have the pleasure of interviewing mostly dads, stepdads, and granddads, but I've also interviewed a dozen and a half women. Most of them are mothers or have a direct connection to the world of special needs. And then a lot of healthcare providers or people that are involved with various therapies that families raising a child or children with special healthcare needs would, like to hear from. And, some of the dads just listen, right? They don't want to talk. They don't want to interact with other dads, but they want to be a better dad. And again, we're trying to meet the dads where they are. And then the conference, which you made reference to, is coming up. It's annual. It used to be an in-person conference up until COVID, and then we went virtual. And the good news about going virtual is you can meet dads, reach them, well beyond a local community. And I think the first year we did it virtual was 2020, May of 2020, and we had over 200 dads register from 30 plus states and maybe 8 countries.
Wow.
And we hope to have a similar impact this year. And it's not necessarily the numbers, but trying to bring valuable information. We have some amazing headliners, and we've scheduled more time this year than in the past for question and answer sessions and breakout group discussions, because that's what the dads tell us they want. They want to interact with one another. They just don't want to be, they don't want to just be listening to presentations. As compelling as the presentations are, they are looking for more interaction.
That is awesome. I love how you guys have been able to grow into not just, into the States. Like you guys you've pushed even farther boundaries, you know what I mean, that I bet you probably even imagined back when you created everything.
Yeah, well, let me just give a little background on the podcast. It's sort of a funny story. This goes back to circa 2017. And somebody said, "Oh, what do you think about podcasts?" And I said, "Well, I think they're interesting. I've started to listen to podcasts." They said, No. What do you think about hosting a podcast?" I said, "Well, what are you talking about? I'm a financial person. I manage investments for people, right? If you want to talk about stocks or bonds or investments, that's my language. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing for almost 4 decades." And they said, No. What do you think about interviewing dads raising kids with special needs?" I'm like, "Well, I know a lot of dads who are raising kids with special needs, and I guess I can take their temperature and ask them." And the first 5 or 6 guys I talked to about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'd be willing to share my story with you if you want to record it." And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, right? Absolutely no idea. They were so gracious, right, with me asking these very basic questions. And then one thing led to the next. And, I started to get introduced to others locally, and then it spread out from Illinois to different states. And then, somebody said, "Oh, my cousin and nephew," or "I met this guy, he lives in England or in Ireland or in Canada or Mexico." And, it's just grown from there. And, all we're trying to do is shed a bright light on some of the positive things that are going on in the lives of special needs families. And life is hard, right? It's hard to be married. It's even more challenging when you have a child. And then when you add a child with a diagnosis, whether it's autism or cerebral palsy or Down syndrome or a rare disease, or they could be blind or they could be deaf or missing a limb or limbs. I mean, there's a gazillion different things that could make it more challenging to be a parent. Um, we just need to, I think, focus on the positive, not candy coat over the challenges or the difficulties. But most parents who get a diagnosis, feel like their world is crashing in, right? That this
Yes.
is the beginning of the end, and it's hard to see the light, right? It's hard to imagine that the situation is going to improve or that things are going to be all right. And with the 500, maybe approaching 600 dads that we have in the Special Fathers Network, these are the mentor fathers. Many of them, I don't know if it's a majority of them, but a very, very large percentage of them would say, and this is really important, I would not have asked for a child with special needs. But knowing everything I know today, a decade or decades down the road, I would not change anything, which I think is a very profound statement,
Yeah.
which is saying, hey, at first it looks really bad and really scary, and I don't know how we're going to do this. And then after a while, you catch your breath, you get your feet underneath yourself, and you just have to adapt or pivot and make the most of the situation. That's all anybody can do in life. It doesn't have anything to do with special needs. Life is full of challenges and obstacles, and it's how you deal with those challenges and obstacles that really define who you are. So let's agree that life is full of challenges. Having a child with special needs is one of those, and in some cases, a very dramatic one. Again, I'm not trying to underplay that. But, you know, if anybody were to listen, to a half dozen or dozen of these podcast interviews, some of them are pretty extreme, right?
Yes.
Nonverbal, spastic quadriplegic, can't walk, talk, feed themselves, bathe themselves, can't do anything for themselves. And these families are finding joy beyond anybody's imagination. And I'll get off my little soapbox here, but one of the things that I've really embraced is that the families who are raising children with special needs, who is your primary audience here, and if it's mostly moms, this applies to moms and dads. I'm not just talking about dads. These individuals, these parents are more humble, less arrogant, and less selfish. And at the end of the day, we want to be around people that are more humble, less arrogant, and less selfish. So just embrace that for what it is, right? Um, we've tried to create a safe place for dads to open up and become more comfortable with being themselves, right? And getting some confidence and some strength to be the best husband they can be, the best father they can be, the best human being they can be. And it's not a straight line. Most guys, including myself, I'll speak for all the men on the planet, which is only like 4 billion people. We're the gender that doesn't pull over and ask for directions when we're lost. That is a fact, right? And we're just talking about how do you get from point A to point B in your vehicle, like pulling over and asking for directions. And if you take that same problem-solving approach, which is like built in, right,
Yes.
hardwired,
Yes.
um, and you apply that to parenting or parenting a child with special needs, and you think, oh, I'm going to figure this out myself, you are in for a lot of challenges, right? So what we
Yes.
need to do is almost like deprogram the way men think, myself included, and say, how can I be doing things differently? Where's my GPS, right? How can I just plug in these coordinates and get the answers that I need, right? I wish it was that easy, right? As far as raising a child or raising children with special needs. But again, what we're trying to do is, again, create a safe place for dads to say, hey, it's okay if you don't have the answers. It's okay if you can't solve the problem, right? Some of these situations are not meant to be solved. You just need to adapt. And hopefully, by example, is what we're talking about, having mentors. We can demonstrate by example the guys that are getting it right.
Well said. Well said. We are going to cut to a Special Fathers Network group testimonial, and you'll actually see someone that you know. So we'll see you.
I'm wondering if you can share what the most impactful aspect of your Special Fathers Network mastermind experience has been.
The most meaningful experience I've had is the privilege to find like-minded men, like-minded fathers.
For me, it's really been the relationships we built here, the intentional relationships and friendships. We texted each other during the week. Sometimes we did calls or emails or whatever it was. But if we had something going on, we were present, we were helpful, and we were, there and ready to support each other.
Results that we've seen in the dads growing, becoming stronger in the areas they need to be stronger, empathetic. It's just incredible to watch all of these dads change in so many different ways, and I think we're so much better. Very, very meaningful year for me.
Sometimes there's a certain experience that only we have because we have a kids with special needs that you cannot share with any other friends in your circle or even your family, because they've never faced a similar situation as you have. And I find it very, very valuable.
The one word that keeps coming to mind is understanding. Being in a group that is understanding, that can put themselves directly in my shoes. You can't find it really anywhere else. I almost can't tell you of an area of my life that it hasn't impacted. I'm very grateful to have you guys.
And you've heard me say it before, I've found it so valuable to know I'm not alone in a lot of ways.
I would start by saying the relationships that I've built with the other fathers, understanding that there are other fathers going through similar challenge, struggles, life experiences that I've gone through.
Welcome back, everyone. We do have some comments, so let me read these real quick and we'll get back to the virtual dad conference information. So Christina says, that is so cool. Yes, this organization is awesome, especially when we have, of course, some single parents doing everything. And then, of course, we want everybody to work in. We want everybody to be in the kids and the children's life, regardless of what's going on. So we want to help motivate those fathers and, make them feel like they can be a part of their kids' life, regardless of what's going on, as long as they can show the love to the kids. So this is a great organization. Gigi says, that's so awesome. And then Jason said it was a great event. I am also attending the conference this Saturday as well. So anyone that does join the conference and sign up, you will be seeing Jason there as well. So we are going to post the sign up website in the comments below. So anybody that wants to register now. It will be Saturday and it will be free. So you just have to register so then they can send you the email to give you the proper links. So our next question is going to be, what can dads expect from the conference?
Great question. So there's sort of three aspects to the conference. There's what I call headline speakers, and we got some amazing speakers. Joe Mantegna, the actor, he was episode number 5 of the podcast. He's been at every one of our conferences. In fact, previous conferences, he's always just recorded a message because we start at 8 a.m. Central Time, and he lives out in LA. So it's like 6 a.m. there. He goes, I love you guys, but I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning to participate in your conference. So he would always record a message just for a couple minutes, but from the heart. And he has 2 daughters, and his older daughter, Mia, who's probably 36 now, has autism. So he's been on board since the very beginning. So we're very fortunate to have him as a perennial presenter. And this year he's going to be live. And then one of our other headliners, and I don't want to go through all of them, but just to give you a taste test, for those that have a child with autism, especially the iconic Temple Grandin, right? Temple's in her mid-70s. She's probably one of the most well-recognized people in America, if not the world, who has autism. And I don't know how many books she's written, but she was also a guest on the Special Fathers Network Dad podcast. All of our presenters have been podcast guests. So we're not like stretching to get people outside the network. One of the benefits to the program is that we're showcasing some of the talent within the network. Um, so there are 6 breakout sessions in 2 different tracks, and they include topics like self-care, which is really important for men, siblings and family balance, housing, which is an issue when you have an older child, sports and other activities, and you get to choose which of those you'd like to participate in, and then there's Q&A after each of those. And then in addition to the sessions that I'm making reference to, there are networking sessions. So what we do is we just take everybody in the Zoom. If there's 100, there'll be 25 breakout groups, roughly, of 4 people each, and they'll have 20 to 30 minutes just to get acquainted, to network.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we do that twice. So conceptually, each of the dads or each of the parents, because we do get some moms who sign up for the event, have a chance to meet a dozen or a couple dozen other parents, and the friendships that form. Some people, communicate with one another offline. And what we try to do is just build community, right? Bring people together who might not otherwise come together around these simple common values, which is we're parents, we love our kids, and we just want to help them reach their full God-given potential.
And it's always great to know that you're not alone. So it's nice to, talk to someone and they be like, I understand you. This is what happened 2 days ago with me. So then you're like, okay, I can breathe. I'm not a horrible parent. I'm just going through the motions. I'm doing what I need to do. We're not alone. Because I know, especially, people like I'm more of an introvert. So with me, I, am more internal. So with my husband, he's a little bit different. He is more external. So he's easier to reach out and talk to people. You know what I mean? And me, I'm a little bit more reserved. So it's a little weird dynamic. But when it comes to that, it's one thing that he at least talks. He can talk things out a lot easier compared to me. And then I know a lot of other people, have those same issues as well. So we are going to cut to a clip from last year's conference testimonial, just so you can get a little feel, guys, about the workshop. So we will see you guys shortly.
I was blown away by all the dads that were there, just the really quality speakers sharing about employment and future planning and things like that.
I've been to 2 conferences. Both of them have been remote virtual conferences. Having the breakout sessions was awesome to get with a group of guys. The camaraderie was awesome to see, especially being so new to special needs at that point.
There may actually be mentor dads in their own geographical area that they can later connect with.
And also just having people speaking with decades of experience, you can't buy that. It was just a great to have all of that in one thing on a Saturday from home. It was awesome.
This conference gives a lot of practical help, but the most important element to the conference for me was rediscovering that I'm not alone.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So to move along, I wanted to present this awesome coin. I know that some of our viewers have seen it on our website. Let me see if I can get there is so much detail in this coin, guys. I actually last year bought these for each one of my dads because what I loved, like my husband got one for Father's Day. Then I got one of my dads one for Father's Day, but then my other dad had a birthday coming up. So I was like, let me hold off and get him that. So now every dad in our family has one of these coins. And to me, I kind of see it as a good luck charm because if you read everything, like everything goes to heart. Like to me, I gave my heart to my dads when I gave them this coin. You know what I mean? I sent them this as an appreciation for all their hard work. They didn't have to take me under their wing. You know what I mean? So like they did the extra step. So I wanted to repay them back. So at least they could always have a little piece of me and my family in their pocket, in their car. Worry stone, just use it to fidget with. And we got to go sensory with it, right, guys? But all seriousness, I love the coin. It is well made, super detail oriented, as you can see in the picture below with the listing. And then it's got this super cute card, guys. And like my husband's very sentimental. So like he sat here and he read the whole card. You have the coin that is going to be right there when you get it. So it's kind of like you can just stick it in an envelope, add it to a card, you know what I mean? And it's a gift. And then you can also put a different card in there and it all fit together. So I want to know, how did you come up with this dad coin? Because you guys definitely put detail into this. It was not something you guys made overnight. I can tell just by holding it in my hand and seeing all this detail.
Yeah, well, thanks for talking about the Great Dad coin. They've been around for the better part of a decade. And the idea, simple idea for the coin, came out of receiving coins initially from friends, peers of mine who were career military. So they are known sort of generically as challenge coins. And the idea behind a challenge coin was started, I think, in World War One. The story goes, one of the stories was that there was an aviator that was shot down over enemy lines, and the only way they could ID him is a person who he said he was by the coin that he had. It was a medallion around his neck, for that matter. And then as the years went by, these coins in the military became very popular, and all the officers had coins of their own made. So it was like when they started in the service, what branch of the service they were in, the different tours of duty that they did, and they would give these coins to men in their regiment or their platoon for merit. So it was something that was highly valued. And it started to go through all branches of the military, and now most of the police departments and fire departments around the United States have coins of their own as well. And I started getting more of these coins when I went to like charity events, like the Metal Society, who recognizes mostly individuals who gave their lives in service for valor and above the call of duty. Had one of these for their 150-year celebratory event. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be really cool to have a coin that we could recognize dads with? And I went out on the internet, couldn't find what we were looking for. So we thought, okay, like when we started the Illinois Father Initiative, you just have to create your own. So that's what we did. And we put a lot of time and thought, like you said, into the detail. Every aspect of the coin reinforces what it means to be a great dad. There's the number 247365. And I always ask people, what do you think that number means? So I'm asking you. Well, you know what it means because you read the insert of the card, but it means 24/7, 365, which what it takes to be a great dad is the commitment. It's a, full-time commitment. And anyway, to add to what you were saying, they do make a great gift. You can personalize it by putting a little handwritten note in the card that comes along with the Great Dad coin. And I think they're the best way to present the coin, if you are able to be face to face with the father or individual that you're presenting the coin to, is that it should be done in a handshake with a testimonial, an affirmation that says, thank you for being the father that you have been. Thank you for being the role model that you have been. Words can't express my appreciation for all you've done, or whatever your own message is. And in the form of a handshake, I've shaken hands with no less than 1,000 men over the past decade, presenting these coins to individuals from all walks of life, including President Clinton, Joe Montana.
Wow.
Just, I don't want to name drop because it sounds like it's just for people that are popular, but with ordinary dads, policemen, firemen, teachers, nurses. I mean, guys that are just in different, very, very different roles in society. And I can usually tell in that handshake, right? If their hand starts to shake, like, it's palpable, right? Sometimes there's a tear in their eye. There's this like warm embrace afterwards. And I think when it's in the form of a handshake, it takes on an even higher level of meaning. Like you were saying, it's coming from your heart, right? And what we've seen is a lot of moms purchasing these for their young children. The children will scrawl a little message on the inside of the card, and then they'll present the card with the coin in it to their father, or their father figure for that matter, or their grandfather. And again, I've been a parent now for almost 34 years, and I can remember whenever one of our kids made something, right? We would keep it. It was a keepsake, right?
Yes.
And these are just mean something to parents. Well, this is like that idea on steroids, right? Because dads can carry this in their pocket with them 24/7, or many of the dads say it just sits on my credenza where I can see it every day. So if it's in your pocket, you can't see it. You know it's there, which is important. But if it's sitting out, you're reminded of it on a daily basis. And sometimes it becomes a conversation piece and, gives them an opportunity to talk about their son or their daughter or their grandchild for that matter. So anyway, if you're looking for a unique Father's Day gift, moms, you will not be disappointed in the Great Dad Coin.
You will not. And we actually do have it still on sale. So click the link, which is in our comments, to check it out, because Father's Day is coming up. Uh, Even if, so get it early. And then you definitely won't be disappointed. I love it. My husband loves it. All the dads that I have given it to, they do love it, and then, like I said, if you read all the details in the card, like, there is so much love in this product and in this coin. Like, you will never want to find another gift. Like, this is probably going to be one of those perfect gifts that you could never top the following year. It really is. I don't think I've topped that gift this year or last year when I did that. So definitely, it's an awesome, awesome coin. So, David, I am sure our audience is curious about your Dad to Dad podcast, your Special Fathers Network Foundation, and the Virtual Dad Conference, and of course, the Dad Coin. Where can we find your organizations, and where can we connect with you? We will have the links in the comments below, so you can definitely, guys, come back and go scrolling and go through the internet dive later if you have to.
Sure. Well, the simple answer is that you can go to 21st Century Dad's website, which is 21stcenturydads.org. And if you want to send me an email or communicate with me directly, you could do that through the website, or just send a message to david@21stcenturydads.org.
Awesome. I also noticed you do have the Dad to Dad podcast on YouTube. So we will add that link as well. So you have easy access to the YouTube for the podcast. And with the 21st Century Dad's website, they actually have a really awesome father's assessment on the website. It's in the resource tab. So I would share that with any dads, and just let them, take a gander and check out the assessment. It's super quick and easy, but definitely you'll be like, oh, light bulb, now I understand. So it's definitely an aha moment that it's worth checking into for sure.
Let me just say a moment about the self-assessment tool. Remember, we're the type of people, the men are, don't want to pull over and ask for directions when we're lost. So in the privacy of our own home or office, you can print off this PDF. It's not interactive. We're not gathering the information. It's just for the benefit of providing a dad with an opportunity to get some immediate feedback on his fathering. And what we did was we broke fathering up into 4 quadrants. Financial, which is what society expects of us, is to be financial providers. But the other 3 quadrants are physically present, emotionally present, and spiritually present. So there's questions that a dad would respond to, hopefully answering, honestly and openly, not projecting what he wants to be, so he can get an idea of where he's at. And each of us, 100% of us, have some strengths and weaknesses. So for example, I am not an emotional person. And I pride myself on not being an emotional person, because professionally, what I do is I manage people's money. And I think that most people, certainly all of my clients, do not want an emotional financial advisor.
Yes.
Right? And I think it's a compliment when they say, wow, you are just so chill, even when the market's getting shellacked. Why is that? Well, you should be an air traffic controller type of comment. And so I take a lot of pride in the fact that I don't get emotionally involved. So what is a strength in my business life is a weakness in my personal life. So I know that I didn't score very high on the emotional quotient. So I just share that as an example that if you're honest with yourself, if you're taking the self-assessment, hopefully it directs you to areas that you are maybe aware of or maybe not aware of. And then it asks you to do something about it. Read the results, resolve to do something. Take an action step or two that says, I'm going to be more intentional about my spirituality. I'm going to be more intentional about being physically present, especially if you don't live with your kids. I'm going to be more intentional about being emotionally present, right? And, not only being curious about my spouse's emotions or my children's emotions, but expressing my own emotions. So I am not a poster child for an emotional father. I want to be crystal clear about that. But we've created a tool, hopefully, that would help break down what does it mean to be a great dad and some of the insights that it's going to take to self-improvement.
That is very true. That's so awesome. Yes, I love the fact that, because of course, a lot of people don't want to put their personal information out on the web. So I do love that it's a printable, because then, it stays with the person. So that's awesome. Well, thank you, David, for joining us today and sharing valuable insights about the Special Fathers Network and the Dad Virtual Conference. We encourage all of our listeners to check out the Special Fathers Network and participate in the free virtual conference to connect with other fathers facing similar challenges. The Dad's virtual conference is this Saturday at 8 a.m. Central Time. Please pre-register and sign up on the link below. That will give you the access to the link to get into the Zoom. So you definitely want to pre-register and get signed up before Saturday, 8 a.m. Central Time. Please also share this with any fathers you may know, because if there's a father that may need it but not asking for help because of their pride, this gives them something to look into, because just like other fathers out there, if they're not searching for the information, they're not going to know about the extra resources and the extra information. So we definitely want to share all the information we can, because we want to help support those dads, and we want to help make sure that they feel comfortable to be present in their children's lives and give them any opportunities that they definitely need. Well, that is it for today's episode, guys. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. David, again, it's been an honor. I have not interviewed you yet, so it was an honor to meet you in person. Well, this has been Sensory Deal Live. We will see you guys next week with another Deals Filled Thursday.